Hello, everyone. This is Gabriel Custodian of Watchman Privacy and EscapeTheTechnocracy.com, the digital shop that accepts Bitcoin and Monero and that is leading the charge for privacy information. Today, we are announcing a new product on the shop. And so, what the new product is, it is a very long PDF, very detailed PDF with screenshots, and we also have some video as well. And we also have a module from another course explaining how you can accept Bitcoin in a sovereign and privacy preserving way for your online shop, for your organization, as a means of donation. Okay, so that is the product that we'll be discussing today. What about Monero? Well, we do touch on Monero, of course, in this guide. It's not the focus, and that's fortunate that is because Monero does not need a lot of the instructions that we'll be pointing out because it has a lot of good things baked into the cake. We will have future iterations where maybe we'll talk about Monero a little bit more, but the focus of this particular product is on accepting Bitcoin, as we said, for your organization as a donation or for your online shop in a sovereign way without KYC and focusing on privacy. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm joined by Urban. We've been working on this for the last month, and we've been imagining it really for the last year and beyond. And let me explain a little bit more about what this is. So you might be saying, why is this needed, right? I'm using Coinbase Commerce or I'm using BitPay or Strike. Well, those are not in alignment with the values of Bitcoin. Okay. So when we talk about accepting Bitcoin for your organization, as I said, this is focused on no KYC, right? No intermediaries. Okay. No KYC for the user and ideally as well for the person who is in charge of the organization and with an emphasis on privacy. The other options out there, the big tech Bitcoin options, that doesn't exist on those platforms. They are against the ethos of Bitcoin. And so this is a strategy that we unfold for you that is very much in alignment with the ethos of Bitcoin. And it was difficult. Like it was challenging to come up with this actually, which is why we needed to spend a lot of time fleshing it out. Now, I actually practice what I preach. I have been running for the last year plus an online shop online, right? If you're in person and you can share QR codes and all the rest, that's different. But we're talking about an online shop. So we have been practicing this ourselves, and we've been thinking about this very deeply for the last year plus, how to accept this, how to make sure to emphasize sovereignty and privacy every step along the way. We've learned a lot of lessons. We've put some of these lessons into play on our website. Others of them, we've been consulting with people who have reached out to us and been thinking about this topic in a very deep way over the last bit of time, and we have developed a lot of thoughts. And it's not one size fits all. There are a number of options depending on what you're looking for, the size of your organization, your tech savviness. There's a number of different ways that you might want to go about accepting Bitcoin on your website or for your online organization. And before I bring Urban in here to talk shop a little bit, I want to bring up another topic, which some of you, and I don't want to lose some of the audience here who might ask, like, why do we even talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies such as Monero? So the reason that we talk about this is because we are big fans of sovereignty and privacy, and you can't get that with banks, and you can't get that with fiat money, right? And the big problem with these big corporate conglomerates and the system at large is censorship. So the big innovation of Bitcoin, the thing that really gives it most of its value is that it is censorship resistant. So when you use this correctly, you have the ability to receive something of value that cannot be censored along the way. So that is very powerful. That was the ingenuity of Bitcoin. We applaud Satoshi for that. So that is the reason why you, as the privacy and sovereignty seeker, want to be familiar with Bitcoin and with Monero. Okay, and then of course it has some other characteristics, right, in terms of predictable or reduced inflation. It's easy to use. It's easy to store. It's a purely digital asset, if we want to call it that. So it has other advantages. But the reason we talk about this so often is because, pretty simply, it's a great way to escape cancel culture and all these other sorts of things that we see. We've seen WikiLeaks put it to action in some of the earliest times. And we've seen all sorts of organizations who are taken down, who are shut down by powerful groups, right? When they start criticizing powerful groups, when they do things that are deemed subversive or whatever the case may be, Bitcoin and Monero are ways to stay sovereign with your money. One more thing before we get into this product. It's important as a sovereign and privacy-seeking crypto user to understand how it works as a personal user. Okay, if you're going to accept this for your shop, you have a responsibility to understand something about how to use it. While we don't get into those details, that would be out of scope for this particular product, we have discussed them at length in our Bitcoin course that emphasizes sovereignty and privacy. And so we would definitely encourage people who are interested in accepting Bitcoin for the business or Monero, or getting more familiar with cryptocurrencies, to check out that course. And we actually have a couple things to say about that, actually. What are the latest updates on that particular course, Urban?
As you know, the philosophy of Escape the Technocracy and Watchman Privacy is once you get a product, you get all the updates for free. And we stand by this philosophy. And I'm very happy to say that we upgraded the entire Bitcoin course. We remastered it. We made all the files smaller, which means that it should be easier to watch. We had many reports in the last month of people who couldn't watch the video because it was buffering and things like this. It's easier to watch, it's easier to download, hopefully. There is also audio version for the modules. So you can also just download the audio version and then listen as you are driving or if you're doing something else, you know. So all of this we've done, and this is the original Bitcoin course, the one that has more than 8 modules. It's 9 modules in total. It's several hours and it goes in depth, and you will learn things that basically no one else tells you. So hopefully anyone who got this course previously, they can just log in and they will see the new system. This is a system that we've been deploying for the past months, and it just makes things simpler on our hand. And also for the future, this is not yet deployed, but you might have seen that we wanted to have quiz and things like this. And the previous system that we used was not really designed for this. But in the new system, we can have, chapters and you can unlock things. And it's a very nice progression. For instance, if we think that a module is important to watch in a certain order, we can suggest that to people. And also you will have a tracking of which module you completed or not. Now, full disclosure, we are, privacy first project. So you're not forced to track yourself like this. And you could just, simply ignore it and not click on the button like complete session. But many, many people wrote us that this is something they wanted. So we thought this is a good thing to offer. You can always download everything. We have no DRMs. We are not checking all of this. This is just pure garbage. So we are not doing any of the DRM, all this copy management and stuff. You can just log in the website and access what you paid for.
So if you have purchased the Bitcoin course previously, check your email. You'll be getting a discount code for the current product that we're talking about in just a moment. And we will be offering this product free also for people who, moving forward, purchase the Bitcoin course as well. All right. So as Urban was saying, we're always trying to improve our systems. We're not Google, we're not YouTube. So they certainly have billions of dollars to do magic, but we're always improving. Urban is always working very hard behind the scenes to make it a better user experience for you and to add features. So just keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about the current situation, Urban, the current products, how to accept Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies really generally for your online shop, but focus on Bitcoin. We'll talk about our journey real quick. So we have been for many years now going on our own journey of understanding cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, wanting to use them and practice them, and then running a shop with them. So that was a really big step forward where we have been running a shop for the last 14 months plus. We have been also consulting people on what is best for them to accept cryptocurrency in a sovereign way for them. And so those are some of our credentials, right? We've been thinking about this, talking about this, discussing this for a long time, and we've been running our own shop successfully for a while now. And along the way, we've been having a lot of conversations talking about all the obstacles to the various ways of accepting cryptocurrency. And we put that together into a single document. Now, document is version 1.0. We will no doubt have updates as we flesh out our thoughts along the way, but we think this is a good comprehensive product. That's why we're releasing it. But with all of our products, we do updates. So you will also stay tuned, and there may be even more in the future. So let's talk a little bit, Urban, about the obstacles to accepting crypto as a business, because some people will say, well, you just throw together this solution or this solution. But when you really get into the weeds, there's a lot of trade-offs, right? There's a lot of trade-offs. There's a lot of work involved in some cases. And the first problem, let's start with the first problem that I've highlighted, which is the no KYC aspect. When we set for ourselves a goal of, okay, we want to accept crypto, but it cannot have KYC, suddenly all of those big tech options, right? The Coinbase Commerce, the BitPays, all that kind of stuff, it's not an option. So those very convenient solutions are no longer an option, which means that we have to find alternatives. Even BTC Pay to an extent, right? People will say, oh, just go to this website and, pay for this BTC Pay server node and get going. Sometimes those services themselves will have KYC. So even that is not quite the obvious solution. We have the other problem of privacy when we want to accept, especially Bitcoin, right? Address reuse, the privacy of donations. Talk for a moment, Urban, about people who are getting into accepting Bitcoin for whatever their organization is. What are some of the privacy problems the hurdles that people encounter that we try to help them with in this document?
Yeah, so I will compare it with PayPal, right? So if you sign up for PayPal or any of those fintech, I mean, now there are like dozen of them, there's like Revolut, Zelle, PayPal, and many others. If you sign up for it, okay, you do the KYC. Let's ignore that for now. And then you get some kind of code or address or ID to share with people that you can donate to them, right? So you could get something like, I don't know, @Watchman Privacy _ PayPal or whatever the company gives you. And then you just share this, you spray it all over social media. You want as many people to get it as possible. When people send you money, yes, all of this is KYC, but actually you get quite good privacy. You get zero privacy from the company itself. Of course, the provider, the payment processor will know exactly to who you donated to. But from the outside, if I see just your PayPal QR code or your Zelle ID or whatever, I have no idea how much money you have. I have no idea of the flows of traffic. And if I want this information, I will need a warrant. I will need like a proper due process to go to a judge to ask, to have reasonable doubt, etc., etc. With Bitcoin, you don't have the KYC, right? Anyone can just create a wallet, but then you post it on YouTube or anywhere. And we see like privacy activists doing this all the time. And now I can just plug it. And it's not even like a professional tracking tool. It's like mempool.space, which probably everybody on the show knows what it is. And if you don't, it's just a way that you know like how much money is in a Bitcoin wallet and the transaction. But with this, I know, your time zone because I can see every time you do transactions. I know how much money went in, went out. I know the amounts, the flow. I know where it went, from whom it went. And if we go a bit more fancy and we plug into one of the blockchain analytic tools that we have access, then I know, oh, this donator comes from Coinbase, and then you spend it on Binance. So if I ask Binance, then, I would know who you are and what you did with the money, which is terrible. It is terrible, right? This is completely unprecedented. And this is dangerous as well, right? And one of the reasons why this happens is because in Bitcoin, you are allowed to reuse the same address to receive money an infinite amount of time. So in a traditional fintech company, you will have privacy. And often it's actually mandated by law that you cannot just willy-nilly share customer data, especially financial information, because everybody recognizes that this is quite sensitive information, how much money you have, etc., because it can make you a target. We don't have this with Bitcoin at all. And as we explained in the document, what is sad is there are many, many solutions that were developed originally for Bitcoin, then went into altcoins, Monero and Zcash and others, which really makes this unnecessarily difficult. And that's like number one. So if you're a merchant or if you are a public persona, or even if you're not, but you publish a Bitcoin address, just like this innocent act could get you tortured. And I'm not even joking. Like we have seen many, many people getting tortured last year and now also this year, especially in Europe and in France. This happened many times. And you might think I'm like overreacting. Well, with the price of cryptocurrency going up sometime, 10x, 100x, the small donation of a few hundred or a few thousand that you get now could be worth, several, maybe not million, but like, several $100,000 next year. And then you are a target as well. So you have to take action now. You cannot stay complacent. You have to take action. And this is what we propose in this document, is just to regain the normal privacy as a merchant that you get from traditional fintech app. That's it, right? But with one caveat, in a sovereign way, that you are in control of it, right? That you are the one who owns the key, who owns the server, or whatever that you're doing that we suggest that you do.
So we have a number of options that we walk you through in this booklet. And we go from the most simplest to the most difficult, the most involved to the most straightforward. And we show some of the trade-offs along the way. We're very clear about explaining the trade-offs. And we explain things like Paynim, like silent payments, the danger of address reuse. And then we move also into BTC Pay server territory, where we explain two different options. And just to show a little bit of the nuance of why we go into so much detail with these conversations, even something like BTC Pay server, which has been considered, right, here's the great solution that has all your accounting baked in, that has some privacy benefits to it. Even something like BTC Pay, we ask the question, is this your own node? Right? Because if it's your own node, there are some serious privacy consequences to it. So then we get to the point of, well, are we renting a VPS to run the node? What are the problems with that? How much does that cost? Right? There is an expense to it. Can you find a no KYC option? Are you running it in a way that you understand that the person who owns the VPS can see some of your wallet details? Okay, that is a reality of doing something like that. Maybe you don't want to have your BTC Pay have Monero in it for reasons pertaining to that. So those are just some of the little nuances that we go into in this booklet, because Urban, it's not so straightforward as, just go to this website, start your BTC Pay server, or just as we talked about, put your Bitcoin address on your website. We show a number of different options because none of these are perfect. Like, that's one of the things that really has stood out to us, is that there's no perfect solution, because everything has a serious trade-off.
Yeah, this is the very unfortunate state that we are in. Actually, not only we broke it down by difficulty for you as the merchant, but we also went into details to explain what is the impact on the user. Because you have dozens of tutorials to explain you how to add paynims or how to do this or how to do that. But none of them go in detail to say, okay, for the user, this is what it means. And if you get money from people, you are only half of the part, right? The other half is the person visiting your website, and you want to make this process as simple as possible. So for every single solution that we explain, we did an analysis of, for you, if it's hard or not for you as the person, and then for the user, if it introduces frictions, right? If you need to have the user install a new software, or if you need the user to follow specific instruction, all of this is friction. And we have all of this not only in every single examples, because we do not have the one solution. We want to empower you, and then you pick the one that you think fits the best. And that also needs to take into account the public that you're targeting. That is important. And this is something we see nobody doing.
Yeah, because you have a lot of people who don't really care about the real goal of cryptocurrencies. And then you have other people who do care, but they're not running a business, and they're certainly not explaining all the nuance. And a lot of people have come to us over the last year plus when we've been doing our consulting, and they say, hey, I realize I don't know how to accept Bitcoin for my shop. Like, all the options out there, nobody's talking about it. Nobody is showing me the privacy consequences and the KYC consequences. There's no options out there. And that's why we spend so much time creating this document. So, Urban, you made your own website to show off in one website, and we show this both in the course as a video, and also we give you the files to play around with. We show people a kind of a little bit of a model website that you created very quickly that deploys all of the methods that we have showed. Talk about that a minute.
If you go on YouTube and you search your typical tutorial, they just show you click here and there and then done, but they don't show you how it looks, how it feels. You cannot see it in action on our website. So we created like a small demonstration website, and there is like 2 of them, not just one, but 2 of them, with every single example that we have in our ebook to show you how it looks, and then that you can see the code to see how it was done. Because everybody wants, like, if you look at the type of requests that we have in consulting, what people want is their corner on the internet, right? They want to avoid big tech. They understand that Facebook is going to censor, Twitter is going to do this, etc. So they want to have their own corner. They want to be able to sell their organic, grass-fed beef and so on. And they want something simple. And we have dozens of people like this asking us details on how to do this. So now in this document, we show you a full example of how this can look, and you can try it. You can open it in a browser, and all of those documents, by the way, this is all, when you download, you can all run this on your computer. So even if tomorrow, the website is shut down and something went wrong, you can still have access to this because we made it in a way that it works offline. And we believe that if you cannot see every option and you cannot try it to see how it feels visually from the user point of view, then it's pointless, right? I can explain you the perfect solution, but if you don't have this, it's pointless. So I think this is something that we see no one else is doing. You will get basically like 2 examples that are very different of websites that are using the strategy that we design in the book. And of course, every single aspect of the strategy, we tried it ourselves, or we had friends, or we had, some people on our team trying them out in one way or another. So all of this was tested in some way. Get you the best knowledge that we have. The last thing I want to say is, why should you pay? Why should you pay? You can go on YouTube and say how to install BTC Pay Server, or how to do this, how to do that. Well, number one, we have our own platform. We are not dependent on any sponsors. The people who have, YouTube channels, we see that every few months they get banned, or they get shut down, or they have to fight to stay alive, because YouTube deemed that they probably violated one of their obscure rules. We don't have any of this, and this comes at a price, because we have to host all of this ourselves. We have to spend the money with server, with bandwidth, with storage, with all this equipment so that you can access it. And the other part is we have no sponsor. And the people who make tutorial for free, there is this insidious aspect, and the tutorial is not free. You're just a product, right? But there is this insidious aspect that they will more often than not suggest their own sponsor. And why wouldn't they, right? They might trust them. They might even use their app, but we have no sponsor. So we will just look at every solution with a clear eye, not blinded by any sponsor. I'm not saying that the people who put out their things for free are doing like bad work, or that it's not needed. Of course, it's great, right? More knowledge, the better. But it's a different strategy. And the strategy that we choose is the one that we explain. And this is why it's important for you to understand that.
When we make a paid product, we spend a ton of time to make sure all of the details are covered. That's not the case with a YouTube video of 20 minutes tutorial. They're not going to tell you the downsides and all of this and that. And sometimes they're not even going to tell you what they would do or point out all of the privacy flaws. So great point, Urban. When you buy something from us, you're getting the unmitigated truth as we see it, and something that is practical, that is lifestyle oriented, and not something that is abstract like a lot of these 20-minute videos are. They're just talking about something for the sake of talking about it in some cases, not as a legitimate consulting solution for an individual. So this is our book and videos included as well on how to accept Bitcoin for your organization in multiple different ways. Check it out on escapethetechnocracy.com. There's a reason we talk about cryptocurrencies. It's a legitimate escape from the systems out there, including the surveillance systems, but only if you do it in the correct way and only if you spend the time to understand how it works. So check this out at escapethetechnocracy.com.